All right, so that's it. We are getting into the courts now. It's a Friday, so everything is allowed, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Everything is allowed on a Friday.
They say freestyle Friday.
Exactly, exactly.
I don't know how to rap. Can I rap? I would have rapped all the things I would say on air today.
Really? You know what? Let's save that for later in the show. Bamutala is here, a man in Parliament, El Capitano.
No, he's in court.
You want me to start making laws?
Huh?
You said Parliament.
It's a Friday. It's a Friday.
I knew you come out.
Yeah, no, the court and Parliament, they have a lot in common.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's predicting your future.
You know. Cruel. Cruel.
But hey, let's look at some of the cases that happened in court yesterday. Right. The ambulance case, a number of other issues as well. So let's head straight to the courts. Captain.
Limo.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I like how Captain is looking today.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's a funky Friday.
It's possible.
I like it when you lose your suit, when you don't wear the suit. I think I prefer this one. This is absolutely great.
It was snatched away from me on my way to work.
Okay, no comment.
But yesterday, who snatched what in court?
So, yesterday, another interesting court sitting, the ambulance case. Dr. Akasielato forcing Mr. Richard Jakpa. And then, for the first time yesterday, Mr. Jakpa had a moment with the man he's been accusing, Godfred Yeboadami. But it was very interesting if you look at how the whole thing panned up yesterday. But let me start from even before the session or the court sitting began. There were certain moments where you could see from the premises of the court that something has changed. What has changed? Security was beefed up. So we saw men from the national security, we saw men from the military. At a point in time, people were wondering, what is happening? This is when they are in court, then you should know that. The only time that I saw them in their high numbers was at the point in time when the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, and then the Defense Minister had a contempt case that day. They were all over. When you sit in the courtroom and even a judge and you see the calice.
It's all great.
Well, they came to support the defense minister.
Absolutely. So he had a lot of moral support. And so yesterday, the moment you see the uniform, you realize that something was. I was just following him, trying to find out truth to my word before I realized they were just in front of Justice Efiase was outside the Butcher's court. What are you doing here? It's the last time they noticed that the court made that order that somebody made an unsanctioned audio recording in the courtroom. So national security should investigate that. So yesterday, everybody who was there was scrutinized before you enter. And if you're an MP and you are coming, you go, your followers will have to stay outside. So yesterday there was that arrangement.
So there was orderliness.
Absolutely. So if you have no business there, you don't allowed. So yesterday that was the arrangement. Then action itself. Then it started. Initially, the Attorney General wasn't in when the whole thing started. So yesterday, the DPP wasn't present. So it was the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Chiayewa, who started the cross-examination. And the focus of his cross-examination was based on the allegations that Mr. Jakpa had made. One, that the president was on the neck, president and then the former finance minister, they were on the neck of the Attorney General to ensure that by May, first week May, I said, to force the Kodjo. So there could be a by-election. By May,
Not to force him.
So after May, the constitution doesn't allow for a by-election. So 6 months to an election year. So they want that done as quickly as possible. They confronted him on that. He said no. The AG made that point to him. Then the issue about the central region being people of central region being cheap, panties being cheap. He said no, it was not a figment of his imagination, but the Attorney General stood up when he met him at Justice GHOne Kolindi's house, came to him and all that. And then you know the minutes of the audio. Yes. So we've been told that it was a 26 minutes. Then Jakpa brought between 14 to 16 minutes. So they confronted him and said, look, you took away portions that will not favor your case, and you brought portions that will favor. He said no. At the time that he was on his way to go and meet his lawyer, and the AG started a conversation with him, he realized that the line of the AG submission were incriminatory, were criminal in nature. That's where he started to record. So that explains why.
We have 16 minutes audio out of the 26 minutes.
So, in relation to allegation and all that, this is a summary of what happened. Then the Deputy Attorney General indicated that at this particular point, I'm handing over to the Attorney General. Look at Jack's face. But all along, he's been calling. He's coming into the witness or swear to an oath and talk. Let's have a conversation on this one. But interestingly, the Attorney General cross-examination did not focus on any of the allegations made by Mr. Jakpa
against him.
It was purely focused on the contracts, the ambulance contract and all that. And one of the highlights of the point was that he pointed to Mr. Jakpa that the contract sum in controversy, you pocketed 28.7% of it, which is equivalent to 700,000 euros. Mr. Jakpa said, I can remember 28, but the points behind, I don't remember. But of course, it doesn't involve, it's not money that went into it. It involved charges, it involved fees, it involved a lot of remunerations and all that. So yesterday, he also admitted that Parliament, Big C didn't have parliamentary approval in this whole thing when he was confronted with a letter to read. And there was a letter that came from the military, which sacked him. That content of the letter was brought to court yesterday, and he was asked to read. At the point in time, he was reading a letter that supposedly sacked him. He said it is an alien. He was seeing that letter for the first time.
Because he had insisted that he was not sacked.
He was not sacked because they had targeted him. They felt he was a spy, and so they wanted to get rid of him. Not that he has failed or not. And they were saying that your conduct led to all these things. But let's see what have the parties been saying in relation to this one. Let's hear Sami Jemfi, the National Communication Officer of the NDC, after the court sitting yesterday.
As the Dishonorable Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame has consistently demonstrated or displayed, today you saw a display of ignorance and illiteracy on very basic things that you expect a person who occupies such high office, to understand. But before I go into those issues, it's important for us to respond to certain reckless and irresponsible comments that have been made by the Dishonorable Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame. I'm sure that over the last few days, you've seen videos of the Attorney General somewhere in London, in the United Kingdom, claiming that the case of the accused persons have crumbled under cross-examination. It is important to put it on record that the only person whose case has crumbled, the only person who has been exposed as a crooked character, a dishonorable character, and a liar throughout the proceedings is not Mr. Jakpa, neither is it Honorable Ato Forsen, but rather Godfred Yeboah-Dame. You would recall that when Mr. Jakpa dropped his bombshell of 23rd May 2024 and asserted in open court under oath that the Attorney General has sought to coerce and impress upon him to implicate the...
All right, so that was Sami Jemfi, the National Communications Officer for the NDC.
So that's one of his reactions in relation to what happened yesterday. But let's also go and hear from Mr. Isaac Wilberforce Mensah, the spokesperson of the Attorney General, what his reaction is also in relation to what happened yesterday.
Let's hear you. I want to...
That's exactly what it was. It was an advice, and the Attorney General did indeed consider the advice, and based on certain considerations, it was very necessary for him to come to court today. And the fact that he was in court today and what transpired in court today, it has become very, very, glaring to anybody who was in court that indeed his cross-examination was very necessary because it unearthed certain things for instance, that Mr. Jakpa himself, and this, I'm not going into the merits of the issue, but I'm just saying things that were said in court today to prevent some narrations that actually did not take place in court. So, for instance, it is clear that Mr. Jakpa himself admitted on oath that he benefited through Jakpa at business or his company. He benefited some 700,000 euros, which is something, you know, many people did not know. There's some 700,000 euros representing 28.7% of the entire amount. The entire amount is about, I think, 2.39 million euros in all. So 28.7%, about 700,000 Ghana cedis. Now, Mr. Jakpa himself also, in making reference to...
Quite interesting. Yes. But the man of the moment, Richard Jakpa, he also spoke.
In my duty as a court journalist for a while, he's the second person I have noticed who is an accused person and he's in the dock. And he's still talking. So the first is Oliver Barker.
Yeah,
Oliver Barker is also a very strong person and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He's facing a charge of treason. But every now and then.
He will grant it.
So let's go and hear Mr. Jakpa in relation to the document he was confronted with regarding his sacking and all that.
Let's hear you.
I want to correct some misconception and mischief that is the Attorney General and the government have created and using their surrogate media houses to be peddling falsehoods, twisting proceedings of the court, and then bringing out evidence that I have no idea about and trying to put it on me. I want to address that. The Attorney General brought a pile of documents to the court about my military career. I left the military about 17 years ago. Now, he brought a document purporting that I have committed certain crimes according to the letter. In fact, that letter, I was not copied. I have no knowledge of that letter. And that letter are allegations that are unsubstantiated, unfounded, and I was never confronted with it by the military 17 years ago. And that letter is purported to have been written by one Brigadier General Ahiaglo. You know him? In fact, I know Brigadier General Ahiaglo. He's dead. He's deceased years ago. And he wrote that letter on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff, who was by then Major General Odote. So Brigadier General Ahiaglo was a staff officer to the Chief of Army Staff. So he wrote on behalf of the Chief of Army Staff. So this unfounded allegation that I was never confronted with, I was never made known of, a secret report document that they wrote to the Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, who reports to the Chief of Defense Staff, the CDS. I have no knowledge about it.
Right. So Mutala, where Atubeba, who are those people?
So you notice the claim by Mr. Jakpa that the Attorney General has described the people of Central Region as cheap people. So yesterday they were in court to register their protest.
But they are not cheap.
They are not cheap.
So these are people from the Central Region.
We cannot be specific, but these are the kind of song that they were singing and all that. Everything tells you that they were in court to support Atu Force and all that. In fact, there were some chiefs from the Central Region and all that who were in court yesterday to lend support for the first time to Atu Force in relation. And they are calling for the Attorney General to apologize to them. But under cross-examination, they say that that particular point that Mr. Jakpa made was a figment of his own imagination. So they are denying that.
Okay.
Yes, they are denying that.
Okay, Captain. Thank you very much. As always, we'll catch you on the flip side. Sure. But you have a date with the CJ.
With the Chief Justice. So you notice that the CJ has been swearing some executives in relation to a Chief Justice Club just to empower students at the senior high level. Today, the Chief Justice will be at the Pentecost University to swear in some leaders there and to ensure that this particular initiative to enhance Chief Justice monitoring section with the youth.
Okay.
So that's what is expected to happen.
Right.
Okay. So our regards to this.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. So that's Mutala Yunusa with Court today. Let's quickly look at what the newspapers are saying this morning. Okay.
So that's the new weekend crusading guy this morning. Jakpa admits under cross-examination ambulance contract had no parliamentary approval. Then there's also Ghana Publishing Company extends to Ashanti, calls on Otum for donate to Cath project. And then Napo woos global energy giants to come and invest in Ghana's energy sector. Okay. Then there's also socialist movement. Ghana condemns use of brute force on Kenyan protesters. And Smart Cities concept shows government commitment to sustainability. And that's the Deputy Minister. Oh, okay. Hamid Amma is on the front page there.
The Daily Statesman says NSS warns against scammers. MPs didn't approve ambulance deal, Jakpa admit. New GMSME classification launched after 30 years. Minister woos global investors for energy sector, and it comes with Dr. Baumia's choice for a running mate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe. Ghana Publishing Company expands with new branch in the Ashanti region.
So our next newspaper, the Daily Dispatch. I do not own any real estate properties in Dubai. Former Mohammed appointee. And it comes with a picture of the former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, your very good friend.
Yes,
on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. And
the Daily Guide says 2.37 million euro ambulance case. Jakpa admits receiving 700,000 euros. US group supports science, maths, education. Cop shot dead. Oh, that's sad. Communications Ministry trains over 39,000 in digital skills. Government doubles leap cash. This is long overdue, if you ask me.
Even though some of them say arrears have not been paid. So the new finder this morning, 65% of 15 to 24-year-olds jobless. While unstable, low-income jobs dominate. Interesting. Jakpa's dismissal letter from Ghana Army admitted in court. Energy Minister calls for global investment in Ghana. Ministry calls for calm amid management dispute at Adamus Resources. And then alarming rise in alcohol consumption among children spurs mental health crisis.
You know the research, the 15 to 24. I'm wondering which part of our constitution allows 15-year-olds to work.
And it's quite interesting how they say they are jobless.
Yeah. Which part of our constitution allows 15 years to work?
Anyway, child labor. Let's move on to some other newspapers this morning. Daily Graphic says national airline plan hits snag and development impossible without moral values. Apostle Nyamiche from Apostle Nyamiche is from CAC.
Well, I don't know.
Well, okay. Debt forgiveness will help restructuring efforts and operationalize Ashanti Regional Hospital. That's the Asante Hine on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper.
So that's it for the papers. We take a break here. When we come back, the usual suspects are in for the breakfast review.
That we are not voting. And when they say they are not voting, it's automatically vote against MPP. So the party needs, and I'm just
somebody who can bring back that love and interest.
I spoke to Dr. Insiansari after the GHOne by-election extensively. He had said that, yes, they had heard whispers, but he found evidence during the GHOne by-election that indeed all was not well. And that the party must quickly start work. First of all, in bringing people like a Duomi and Co back into the fold. And then appealing to the people to say that, come out and vote. Because if they don't come out, it's automatically a vote against you. So the point is that the choice has been made. I don't think anything will change. Yes, during the National Council meeting, there will be disagreement. Other people will advance opposing views. That's expected. But nothing will change. Is there work to be done by the party? Massive work. Massive work. Because I told you here the last time, especially when we were projecting Napo's name, that regardless of who is mentioned, there will be work that needs to be done in the Ashanti region and nationally in that regard. People disagree. People want to take the back seat now because their favorite probably did not get the nod. And then there is also the conversation about what happens next. And that was what brought about the hesitation. So, for instance, let's assume that MPP doesn't win come December 7. What happens to the Napo Baumia ticket or the Baumia Napo ticket? Would that ticket be able to be patient, to come again, to win? Or there will be maneuverings and crusades for that ticket to change? This was equally considered. In fact, it's one of the prime considerations. But then again, people enter into agreement. You can be ambitious. But once you are offered something, the agreement can be read that, hey, we know you are ambitious. We know you want to be president. But you know what? This is the plan. Let's stick to the plan. As for the other names like Professor Opoku Nyine and Co., it was dead on arrival. But the party had decided that they were not going for an outsider anymore until anything changes in future. The Baumia-like running mate would never happen again in MPP. We put in the work. Let the people who are putting the work enjoy if the fruits come in.
Right, gentlemen.
Napo will be popular in Ashanti. People think that his popularity is just confined within Ashanti region. I can tell you that's not a factual comment. Look, I'm from North, and I am telling you, even in the northern sector, Napo is very popular. Just like Canada, Japan, who did so well. You know, in politics, if you eye something, you work towards it.
And you don't focus just on your home.
On your home. Because if you want to lead a party, you cut across, you do it. That's why in the primaries, Ken did so well across the country. That's why, because he has helped people across the country. And if I can tell you, that's how Napo has also lived his life within this party. So people should not think that his popularity is within Ashanti region. In Volta region, there are people who will go out for him because he has supported them. In the northern sector, he has done it across the country. So it's not just within Ashanti region. And in the coming days, if it's confirmed, you will see, the campaign of MPP will be something different. And you will see it coming. And yes, hold your destiny.
We should hold our horse,
and see what will happen.
Last week I was
because there's somebody. Look,
last week I was on another show, and then there was this university lecturer talking about series of surveys they have conducted, and interestingly, of the tall list of names across the country.
Within the MPP?
Within MPP. No, not both within the MPP and without.
Nationally.
Okay. They had conducted.
So they conducted a survey. An open one, and then there was one that focused on just
party.
the MPP. And the results clearly show that Napo was the preferred choice. And I'm not surprised, because having reported from the Ministry of Education for some years now, you move in there. I think whilst he was there, people had their own view. When he exited, you move in there, you talk to ordinary people.
Then they appreciate
and they appreciate
what he was doing. Okay, gentlemen.
So it doesn't
this
come
man,
to me.
he is in parliament. You should look at the number of bills that is shepherded for him to be passed in education sector.
It doesn't come
probably
to me
more than any minister within the first 4 years.
And indeed, then, I think the opponents are aware, because if you watch how all of a sudden the attacks have even moved from the flag bearer to the yet to be confirmed, clearly gives an indication that that is somebody they must bring down.
But that's politics.
That's politics.
That's politics.
Let's quickly move to our next topic.
All right.
Kenyan youth went on rampage. They vandalized some parts of the parliament. They vandalized cars in demonstration against a finance bill. People died. The president says, well, whatever you did was treasonous, but I am withdrawing that bill. Even in spite of the withdrawal, the people are still protesting across the country. Some MPs here in Ghana have called for a replication of that in Ghana.
mention names?
No, not just him.
Me, I heard only one.
No, Jifago Mashi. Jifago Mashi.
Me, I heard only Sami Ablakwa.
Yeah, Haja Zuera too has equally said that.
Yeah, over a possible
replication.
A possible replication of that.
Which Haja?
Oh, the Salaga South.
Yes, MP.
Ah, okay.
So,
and then Jifago.
No problem. So, very interesting. That is the stock. Look at the names you have mentioned. All belong to one stock.
Yeah, the opposition NDC.
Is that not it? Good. And I'm surprised that they themselves do not appreciate what is happening in Kenya. Because the dynamics in Kenya, it's not just about economic situation. People must understand that, first and foremost, like we talk about the establishment candidates, Ruto is an opposition member within the very party in which he belongs. Which he was vice president. And then he is dealing with an opposition that is outside his party. Then where he comes from. So it's a different ball game altogether. And so it is very sad when you hear members of parliament talking about replication. Now, how many demonstrations have been organized here, including the board's demonstration by Martin Kpebu, where he stood on national television asking people that it is peaceful, people should come out. People do not know their plight. You would have to tell people that because of what you are suffering, come onto the street and demonstrate. I understand, and it's on social media. See, and I tell people, the good thing is that those demonstrations, the people who have died, I don't think there is any politician in Kenya whose son or daughter is part of those who have died. Those who have survived but maimed and are going to live with that scar for the rest of their lives. So when these politicians make such call, the youth must first pause. In spite of the economic difficulties and challenges, I don't think somebody has gone 3 days without food. It's difficult. The luxuries of life in itself is good if you have it. But you need to have your life to be able to enjoy those luxuries. They should rather tell us, after all, it's a democratic society. We are going to go to the polls. Bring out compelling reasons why people must change the baton and offer the baton to you, so that you come in and better the lot of the people you want to whip onto the street. Because at the end of the day, once you are dead and gone, nobody cares about you. The last election, we lost 8 lives. Needless. Unfortunately, when we put out the narrative, what we fail to condemn is those who instigated and encouraged those people to move onto the streets. And you don't build a society like that, because ever since I was born and started following Ghanaian politics, from 1979 till date, there has never been any government that has not suffered economic challenges. What probably has kept us going and saved us from what we saw in the late 80s and the mid 90s across the sub-region, the civil war, was because perhaps the Ghanaian has been given that spirit of patience that no matter how long it takes, change will come one day. Better, You understand? And that is what has kept us throughout. And so I get worried when people like the names you are mentioning, they should tell us their impact in parliament. Because they are the people's representatives. They should tell us what bill have they sponsored that is so overwhelmingly impacting. Then we know that these are people who have our concern. Because you can't enjoy the largesse of public office, I'm sure very soon a committee will be put in place to determine their emoluments. In spite of all the economic difficulties, at that point, they will see the need to agree with the very same government they think has placed on us the very hardships. So it is not about us. It is always about them. We are begging them. The peace we are enjoying. Yes. Our youth are jobless. One of they say 15 to 25 years.
Yeah, and it was something I was questioning. I was asking myself, what part of our constitution allows 15-year-olds to work?
Yeah, I think.
No,
I think
after 15,
after
the
labor laws allow.
You say after 15. They are saying 15 years.
15 years.
From 15.
For 15 years,
when you are 15, you qualify to do some
economic activity.
Right?
Yeah.
But they are still in school. So if you say jobless.
Okay, so here's the thing. Apprenticeship is also regarded
as a job.
A job, right? Training is also regarded as a job. In this case, it's about those who are neither in school or are employed.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's about.
So yes, the 15, it's right.
I have serious problem.
You may have serious. It's just like
but some 15-year-olds are breadwinners. How do some 15-year-olds?
I'm a typical example.
It's just like the consenting age for sex and the marriage age.
Yes.
I have no problem.
And then,
I have no problem. But to say they are jobless, I think that description is something.
So yes. That we have joblessness, economic difficulties. But in spite of all that, like I said, nobody has gone 3 days without food.
You cannot see.
You understand?
You cannot beat your chest to say
you cannot
that.
See.
For a fact.
It might be happening to some.
It might be happening to some people.
Yeah.
Some people.
Yes.
Then I don't think the people live in Ghana.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Oh well, maybe we need to.
See, the reason why people trek from Niger onto our streets, begging for arms, then it is not Ghana.
Okay,
I get you. But maybe if within 3 days you beg to be able to eat,
then it is not Ghana. Oh, that is not Ghana.
No,
oh, really? People beg daily.
I'm wondering where you live.
I understand what you do. I will not sacrifice my prestige and honor to go begging. Exactly. So maybe I may decide to stay in there. But in that case, you commit yourself to pray and do a 3-day fasting.
Okay. I'll do. Let me hear from you.
You see, when I hear politicians spew out this nonsense, look, Ghana, we have to tell people that the language they speak to Ghanaians.
Decorum, please. No, don't say nonsense.
No, you see, it's absolute nonsense for you to say that we should have a Kenyan-like demonstration in this country. It's insane.
Okay, so quote Ablakwa well.
Yes.
Ablakwa spoke.
Oh, no. I listened to him on Joy FM.
No, I'm saying that.
Hey, my brother, I am quoting him.
In relation to the Senate hotel.
But that's what I'm saying. But I'm in fact, I am coming there.
No, please.
It is snitting up.
We don't have enough time, so
it is snitting up so that we will have a Kenya, because it was when the labor unions met the president. He said that it was fruitless and that there was going to be a demonstration in Central Region, and probably what the president will listen to is for us to have a Kenyan-like demonstration in Ghana. What did happen in Kenya? Part of their parliament was burnt. Is that what we want to have in this our parliament? It would be insane for somebody to advocate that. People died in Kenya. Is that what we want to have in Ghana? When people died in our electoral process, this thing in 2020, are we not all talking about it? We want that to be repeated. And when I say people are insane in advocating that, you think I'm not decorous on air? Is that what we're advocating in this country?
No, but
look,
I mean, you can make your point.
I am saying this is insane, and he can take me on. Look, I am serious on this matter. That's why I know where I'm coming from. That's why I'm saying that the people they push out to do these things, these demonstrations, and they lose their lives, are the downtrodden, are the vulnerable. I don't know how old I don't know how old his kids are.
Very often they come from.
They come from my locality.
The Zango community.
Look, I told you that somebody I know very well died. Incidentally, the person is even NDC who died because of this kind of cause. Look, I don't know, all those people are calling for Kenya-like demonstration. I don't know how old their kids are. They should push them to go and do the side demonstrations. Look, demonstrations are legal.
That's as if their kids live in Ghana.
Demonstrations are legal, but do not ban things. Look, and hasn't he organized demonstration recently? Does he have to take Kenyan-like demonstration for Ghanaians for him to air his opinions? Does he have to take that? Do we have to go to that extent? Look, let's don't joke with people who say these things. Look, if this country best, me, I have no place to go. The only place I can go is Chum, Lambusi. That's where I can go, I can run to.
You don't go to US, the wife is in the US.
I don't have, no, he has a service, I don't know, he has a diplomatic passport. As MP, what are they entitled to? I don't. I don't know how old their kids are. I have young kids. I didn't start early, I have young kids. And I don't want this country to burn. The only way you can show your displeasure is at the ballot. That's where everybody shows whether the government is doing well or not. And incidentally, he is an MP. He is going to go into election. And his candidate is contesting the election. Tell Ghanaians what your party will offer for them to throw out the government that you think is not doing well. What is this nonsense about? We should have Kenyan-like demonstration. Okay. Look, we should be tired of these kind of calls. We should be tired of, look, this populist nonsense must stop. Look, I am saying this passionately because I've been affected with this kind of demonstration personally. That's why I'm saying this. And when people sit in their comfort, their home, they live there in their airport hills, they live everywhere and they speak this nonsense. And you don't want us to comment, I should be decorous. You know where I'm coming from? I walk miles to go to primary school, and that's where I am. People don't know what we have gone through in this country. For them to get out, there will be Kenyan-like demonstration when people have died.
Ibrahim, let me hear you quickly. Then
so the first person to ask the youth of Ghana to go the Kenya way was the former SADA boss, Charles Abugri.
Yes.
I was at the Ghana Civil Society Forum 2024, and he was the guest speaker. And he had mentioned, and when he said that, what he meant was that this was spontaneous. Young people, without the backing of any political party, without the backing of even any civil society organization, decided that the government was introducing a tax bill, a finance bill, that just like our, government was introducing. Yeah, Kenya.
It was a finance bill.
It's a finance bill.
No,
it's true. It was
it was
not by a political party. It was not by any civil society organization. So that happened, and he was talking in relation to consciousness of the youth, right? We had our own here when Fix the Country decided to organize demonstrations against the e-levy. See, when it comes to the reason why they poured out on the street, is the same. The finance bill is the same as our e-levy. What brought about the fight in Parliament, right? That almost got MPs to knock each other's teeth out, was the same thing that was being introduced in Kenya. The youth then decided to pour out on the street. The signs were there. The system decided not to respond. And it got out of hand. So yes, I'm not sure that any sane person will ask for our parliament to be banned. When they reference happenings in Kenya, they are talking about the protests, but not the SSS. Nobody will say.
Are you explaining what the Kenyan like?
Is it wrong for anybody to ask citizens to pour out on the street?
No.
Is that what you guys are saying?
But is that what Kenyans say?
That's why I'm explaining to you that when we talk about Kenyan-like demonstration, from what Charles Abugri said, I was there when he mentioned, it was the spontaneity and how it came about. It was not organized. It was without the political establishment. It had not been instigated. Young people, Gen Zs, and look at the flyers that were making rounds on social media. Gen Zs decided that we will spit fire on our government, right? Nobody asked the police to go the way they went in killing 17 or more people. The president has realized what was happening and he has withdrawn the tax of the finance bill. Just as happens with young people, they are refusing to back down. And
they are also backing lawlessness.
You see? See, the Constitution gives people the right to express their disagreement with systems. What got us the reduction in the e-levy rate? It was the opposition from parliament and then the fight and what have you.
People opposing to it.
For it to be reduced. Do they go the Kenya like?
Please allow
protest for protest. Protest for protest. People protest in many ways they deem fit.
Okay.
I cannot speak for people
and
I don't intend doing that.
Let them bend down.
When I spoke to Hadia Zuera and then Jifa Gomashi, members of parliament.
How many of Okuja's mates are living like?
Jifa Gomashi, for instance, talked about the invasion of parliament by the military and the fact that as we speak now, we've not had a lid on that particular incident. And to her personally, whenever she comes to parliament, she lives in fear. Because she doesn't know when next the military or say the police or any security agency might invade the house again. But then they talk about government or people in authority listening. See, if Ruto had listened, we wouldn't be here. And I agree with what he said about how Ruto became president. These same people who are on the trees voted for Ruto because Ruto was not the establishment candidate.
He campaigned on the back of he being one of them.
Exactly. And then they tell you, no. See, and I agree that it's not just economic situation, because if it's just economic conditions, then by now we should have been burning everything in this country, because our own is worse by inflation, by exchange rate, by the rate of debt.
Economy is not worse than Kenya. You don't know what Kenyans are going through. Wow. Look at the statistics.
Wow.
I am telling you.
I'm giving you the statistics. In fact, we will put the statistics. See, their inflation better than ours. Their debt accumulation better than ours, their exchange rate better than ours, their unemployment rate better than ours. Every listener can go and check. These are the indicators. I'm telling you, Kenya's economy is bigger than Ghana's economy. Who doesn't know that? That's the point. That's the point I'm making.
But bigger economy doesn't mean everything is good.
I'm actually agreeing with you that it's not just economics. If it's just economics, then they have no reason demonstrating because they are better than us. That's the point I'm making.
They should bend down our parliament. They should go and bend down our parliament.
The point I'm making. If it's just economics, then they are better than us. Right? But the point is that there's a lesson to be taken, not just for Ghana, but the whole of the continent. When the citizens are speaking, people in authority
should
must listen. It's basic.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. You have to go. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Cliff Ekuful is Chief Reporter, New Times Corporation.
Me, I'm irritated by this.
I like that, but that's good. That's good.
People make comments.
And my boss, Ibrahim Alassane, he's the head of political desk here at the EIB network. Well, a number of them have their children living abroad, so hey. That's it for the weekly review. That's it for the weekly review. We take a quick break, and when we return, there is a man of God who is writing 6 books at once. How did he do it? Charlie, TV writes notes for my lectures, guys, wahala. But we'll talk about that right after this break. Stay tuned in. Welcome back to the show. This is still GH Today here on GHOne TV. It's time to talk about a man who's written... Listen, I was telling you earlier that my lecture notes, I'm struggling with it. Now, this man has written 6 books at once, and he's launching it come 29th of June. He also has a conference coming up. His name is Apostle Emmanuel Inkum. He's the General Overseer for the Radiant Church in Tessano here in Accra. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
What's your name? Now, you have written 6 books, and I am wondering why I have not even written 1 book. but how did you do it? 6 books all at once?
All at once, yes. And it's not like they are small books. One is almost 350 pages. There is one that's about 350. There is one that is 210, and there is one 200, 180, categorically.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think the reason is that my birthday was just 2 days ago.
Oh, you're a June born too.
I'm a June born too.
I'm equally a June born.
Fantastic. The coincidence is becoming too much. And then... almost every year of my birthday, I do something. Okay. And this year I decided to come out with 6 books. 2 years ago, I had another 5 books. I have a couple of books to my credit as an author.
How many books have you written before?
Right now, if this one is launched, it will all be about 22.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But what spurs you into writing? What encourages you when you wake up in the morning and you go and sit behind your table, you're writing? What encourages you to write?
I think knowledge is very powerful, but knowledge not transferred is a burden to the brain that carries it. And that is the greatest legacy and posterity a man can never leave on earth. When you leave a house, somebody can waste it. If you leave a car, time will devalue it. But if you leave your knowledge to the next generation, they will appreciate it, especially when you are leaving the knowledge about the God we serve to the next generation. And so, yeah.
Let's look at the books that you've written.
Sure.
The 6 books. The first one is Stewardship Implementation Strategy.
Yeah.
Why that?
Okay, so I realized that in the higher scope of leadership, one of the things many people don't know about is the area of stewardship, that God has called everybody to become a steward. But if a steward begins to behave like an owner, then there is a conflict of interest. Secondly, to a steward's major functionality is to become faithful to the person who employed the person or put the person in that particular position. I read a book a couple of years ago called 48 Laws of Power, and one of the laws is never try to outshine your master.
Never outshine the master.
Yeah, never try to. Okay, outshine your master. And it taught me a lot of lessons that if a steward become a steward and then give the credit to the owner, there will not be any form of conflict and things that happen. But the hallmark of stewardship is faithfulness from the one who is the steward.
And then there's spiritual duality.
Yeah.
Is there anything like spiritual duality?
There's a spiritual duality because there is interweaving and intermingling of spirituality and carnality mixed together. And so somebody could be very charismatic but lack good character. That is duality. And so the person's charisma is doubted because of the person's character. Meanwhile, there should be a differentiation between a container and a content. But how do you then buy the content without being attracted to the container? And how do you enjoy the content if the container doesn't look good? And so so if the container looks nice and the content is bad, both the container and the content will be discarded. And this is the spiritual duality. Even Jesus was a lion and a lamb. So how do you then deal with the struggle between spirituality and carnality? Many people are struggling within it. They go to church and then they go to club, okay, and they are cool with it. It's quite crazy how this thing works. And this book is the biggest book I've written, and it's going to be very iconic because the place of spirituality has been underestimated, underrated, and undermined. And we need to come into a level to understand the process of migrating from carnality to spirituality and staying there without any pendulum swing.
But okay. Is there a way anybody can be able to marry the two? Can you be spiritual and carnal?
So then we don't use the word carnal. Can you be spiritual and package yourself well?
Okay.
Okay? Because carnality simply means fleshiness. You are fleshy. You know, and being fleshy means you are out of the radar of God. Romans chapter 8 talks about the fact that he's talking about the fact that he said, be not. I'm so sorry about it. Romans chapter 8, verse number 1. He said, there is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Those who walk after the spirit, but not after the flesh. You know, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life eternal. So what God wants us to do is to become spiritual minded. Now, spiritually mindedness is not just thinking everything is spiritual or going around speaking in tongues and behaving that way, but to be conscious about God, to be conscious about his presence, to be conscious that he is with you. The proclivity and the certainty that God is with you is what gives you access to be able to gain a certain level of confidence to overcome the flesh. Because right now, if I am in a room alone with you, we are not married, and I know God is with me, there are things I will not do because I know God is there. You know, so I will lock the door because I don't want people to see us. But then we've forgotten that there is somebody also that is there. And so the consciousness of that will help you to be able to navigate your path and not do certain things. You know, not because you don't want to do it, but because you know somebody is there looking at you. It gives you that leverage on making sure you don't do what you don't have to do.
Can you be spiritual and not fellowship with people.
No, no. I mean, spirituality will lead you to a very good fellowship, because Christianity is on the basis of loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. And so, how can you love God when you cannot love your neighbor? Fellowship comes because of love, and anytime fellowship comes in, there is a certain level of amalgamation of ideas you share and everything. But the aspect of it that is a little bit dicey is when you fellowship with gross unbeliever who is rather dragging you from light to darkness, maybe by the influence of money, by the influence of trying to belong, you know, creating a sense of jealousy and enviness in you, and trying to become like someone who is struggling to become like you in values and virtues.
And another book that caught my attention is this one, There Is Room.
Yeah, you see, There Is Room is very profound book, okay? Because there are people that think that some people are not qualified to be in the presence of the Lord. Some people are not, because of their background, their ethnicity, their past mistakes, their wrongs, they've killed before, they've done abortion, they've committed adultery, they've committed fornication. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. John 3:16 simply says, for God so loved the world. Which people live in the world? Okay? The gay, the lesbians, the mad people, the all kinds of wrong people and right people live in this world. So Jesus did not come to die for the saint. He came to die for the sinners. If he came for the saint, then there is a problem. So the reason there is a room is because there was a party that was held in a banquet that was set by Jesus, and he invited all the big guys in town. None of them showed up. Then he called the disciples and told them to go to the highways and the byways and go and bring the people in. Intrinsically, when they went out, none of those big people came. So the ordinary people rather came in. And then they came and said, Master, we've brought a lot of people. And the Master, Jesus told them that, look, there is more room. It means that there is more room for Jesus to handle your flaws, handle your problems, handle your weakness, handle your inadequacies, your backgrounds, the curses in your family, the jinxes, the limitations, the pain, you know, the things you are struck. There is a room for him if you can. And you know, the Bible said, I stand at your heart and I knock. If you can open me, I will come in. That is, you also have to create a room for him to come in. Okay, you have to create a room because of a certain levels of preoccupation. Many people can be preoccupied by our occupation, our jobs, our marriages, problems, and all kinds of things. And if you allow those things to overwhelm you, you might not have a place for God. But if you can let go, you can bring in God. It makes a lot of difference.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot when it comes to your books.
Yes, a lot.
Know? And it feels as though there's a lot of work that has gone into it.
A lot.
Now, beyond census.
I've traveled to 60 nations in the world preaching the gospel of grace, and, you know, sit as a board of several organizations around the world, even United Nations, working alongside with them in Manhattan. One thing I've come to realize that the system of this world is making us think that God is not still doing crazy miracles. I'm telling you, I've seen
he's still in the miracle business.
I've seen a cat legs grow. I've seen somebody whose teeth was removed. Instantly, the teeth being restored. This is not story. In New York, there is I was preaching in a church there. And then there was a guy that came to the program. I was laying my hands on him to pray for him because he came with crutches. And then the pastor walked to me and told me that, Apostle, please pray for the other people. Don't pray for this one because there is metal in the leg and he can't walk. And I said, really? And he said, I spoke to the guy in the ear. I said, go and sit down. After service, I will speak to you. And then once he was going, the Lord asked me, do you think I cannot remove metal from a leg? I was shocked to hear that expressly from the Lord. And I said, I don't know, because I've never seen that before. He said, you just call him and lay your hands on him. Leave the rest for me. And then I called him in a very intense worship. I laid my hands on him. He fell. His legs started shaking like somebody who was going to, you know. And then after, the leg that was straightened and could not walk, he started bending the leg, going to walk. When they went to check, the metal had gone out of the leg. It's strange. I was in St. Lucia, okay, in Castries, preaching for one of my friends called Bishop Aristi Thomas. And then in a service, a guy came there with, he was an armed robber. He was a notorious armed robber. But when he saw me on television, he decided to come for the meeting. When he came to the meeting, diabetes have made them to cut one of the leg. And diabetes was eating the other leg. Strangely, the guy's leg was literally smelling. And when we were praying and I laid my hands on him, he just fell. And he was on the floor. When he woke up, all the bruises that were on the leg and the sore that was on the leg, everything vanished. We've seen HIV healed. I'm talking about beyond the senses. I'm not talking about what happened in the Bible. Last year, fixer like this. There was a woman that they brought in a wheelchair. The woman could not walk. We were just praying. The power of God came upon her. And I am not a healer, to be honest with you. I've never healed before. But I know someone whose name is Jesus that lives in me and do astronomical miracles. I might be limited in ability, but he's unlimited in the expression of his abilities. And I feel like this book, Beyond the Senses, will open you up to an incredible aspect of faith that will ignite certain things in you that if it's not possible with men, it's possible with God.
And now the audacity to change.
Audacity of change.
Oh, of change, yeah.
The progressiveness of a man's life is the beauty of a man's life. You know, one thing I've come to realize is that life is not static. Life is dynamic. Now, there are many people that are anachronistic in mentality just based on where they are coming from. And change is the only thing, okay, that is constant in nature. And you have to be audacious enough to embark on a journey of change. It is not working. Change it. It can be just a work. Change it. It can be just a thought pattern. Change it. If it can be anything in your life, change it. It can be your garment, change it. It can be your anger problem, change it. You must develop a sense of audaciousness to ascertain a certain dimension of change in your life. And guess what? If you don't change, you remain in chains.
Then there's the boneyard conundrum. What is the boneyard conundrum?
Boneyard conundrum, it's all is centered on Ezekiel 37, when the Lord took Ezekiel into the valley of the dry bone, and he saw, you know, the bones very dry. Okay, and the Lord told him that he should speak over the word, over the bones, and the dry bones will be resuscitated. So it's a journey of hope, resurgence, resurrection, ability for declaration, and the power to come back even at the lowest state of your life.
So you're launching these books on 29th of June at 3 p.m.
Yes, at Apenkwa Total Filling Station, opposite the Tesano Papaye, inside the fueling station, just the top there. That is where we are launching the book.
The Radiant Place.
The Radiant Place, yes.
Okay,
the Radiant
so
Place.
So beyond the launch, because I'm sure a lot of people are out there who are listening to you and say, well, I want to grab copies of these books.
So they can still come there and get some. And we have some of our books in Dominion, a bookshop in Action Chapel, and most of the bookshops too. Most of my books are there. Okay. But if you come to the church there to get it, you might get a very good discount when you come over.
Okay. But how much is it going for?
Oh, after the launch, then the prices will come out.
But while you were talking, you mentioned the Fixer.
Yeah.
What is the Fixer?
Now, the Fixer is a meeting we hold every year, and this year is happening at the 1st to the 7th of July. And it's something the Lord gave to me that if a chair is broken, we take it to a carpenter. And if my watch is goes bad, I have to take to the person who can fix it. The beautiful thing about the Fixer is that God is the one who created us, and God is the one who can fix us when there is anything that goes wrong in our body. And there is nothing too broken that God cannot fix. There is no mess God cannot bring a message out of. There is nothing destroyed that God cannot construct. And it is when you go to him that he gives you the grace to be able to put yourself together. And this meeting is one of the most powerful meetings, and I want everybody in Ghana to put yourself together and plan to attend, including
when is it? From
yourself.
1st to 7th July?
Yeah, from 1st to 7th
Still
July.
at the Radiant Place?
At the Radiant Place,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
And it's 5:30. In fact, the highest time we close is 9 o'clock. And everybody...
You're not going to give us Ghana Man time?
No, not Ghana Man time.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so we'll see you at the book launch, 29th
yes.
of June, Radiant Place, Apenkwa, Total Filling Station at 3 p.m. And then from the 1st through till 7th of July, we go and fix ourselves with Christ. Thank you very much.
Can I give my number in case somebody want to?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, so you can call us in case of anything with 0246 32 89 84. 0246 32 89 84.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Apostle Emmanuel Nkum, he's the General Overseer for the Radiant Place Church. Is located at Tessano here in Accra. We're back after this breather. Stay tuned in.
Yes, indeed, it's been a very good morning, and thank you so much for staying tuned in to GH1 Television. This is GH Today, and we are going to have a conversation shortly on security. We are looking at private security in the country, and a lot of conversations have also arisen as a result of what we have seen in Kenya and in other countries, and we'll have that conversation shortly. But let me tell you about Quick Credit, because for 15 years, that's what we're known for. Quick Credit, we've been your trusted partner in micro-lending, empowering lives, and making dreams a reality. Well, today, 15 years on, we have metamorphosed into a beautiful name, Bills Microcredit, and we are here still committed to serving you and ensuring that we are changing your life. So Bills is here to show you that everything is possible. Join us as we embrace a brighter future. Bills, financing your needs. And I have an interesting personality in the studio this morning to have that conversation around security with, and I'm sure that by the time you're done with this conversation, you really appreciate some things that perhaps you didn't know, and then we'll also look at how you can get better in these times. And my guest in studio this morning is Robert Alexander Budu Labi. I see PSP, Physical Security Professional.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to the studios this morning.
My pleasure.
I hope you're doing well.
By God's grace, I'm doing well.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning. So as a physical security professional, what really are you into?
Well, security has various facets. Well, good morning to your listeners and your viewers, and it's a privilege to be here this morning. And security has many facets, what we call subsystems. We have electronic security, we have physical security, executive protection, event security. Physical security denotes it's not only the physical protection of assets and people, but putting together the measures that make sure an organization or a person's most prized assets are protected. So we have what we call procedures. You do procedures. You can do physical security in the terms of designing systems, CCTV systems. So we bring in the various subsystems to give a holistic system to a client. So in a nutshell, physical security, it's the ability to bring in various ecosystems, to protect a person or a structure
or property.
Interesting.
Yes. Well, so let's broaden it up, and then we'll narrow it down. Talking about Ghana, our security architecture, what do you make of it?
Well, Ghana has had a history of very good security from independence. In terms of the state security, we've had a very robust security system, from Kwame Nkrumah down to the various presidents, through our various coups and revolutions and democracies. So basically, our security architecture, I think it's quite robust and quite strong, with the various national security systems in place. We have national security as an institution sitting up there. We have the armed forces, we have the police service, we have the various security institutions, then we have the intelligence and security agencies. So I think that over the years, we've sort of been able to put them together to keep, one thing we say in security, that if nothing has happened, it means that that doesn't mean we are doing well, but it means that things are in place, So we thank God for how far we are as a country in terms of the terrorist threats around us.
So the absence of those threats and all of that in the country does not necessarily mean that all is well.
Yes.
We are home and dry.
Yes. The absence of war doesn't mean there is peace.
Right.
Yes. So we keep on, security is an evolving thing. You keep on every day, because the criminals and the bad guys are always one step ahead of us. So they do it, then we try to counter. But I believe our state security architecture are doing what they can with the resources they have, but security can always do more.
And over the years, I mean, we've seen private security firms also springing up in the country and all of that. What's your take on, first of all, the private security industry and how that field is faring?
Well, private security industry, I mean, it's looking at the history of Ghana. Well, it started, it comes under the Act 350, the Ghana Police Service Act, which gave us the provision for the institution of the private security organization. So over the years, various LIs have been promulgated to. We started with LI 751 that has been repealed, and we have the LI 1571, which is the main working body of the private security industry.
Right.
So that LI 1571, or Police Service Private Security Organization Regulations 1992, that is the framework for the private security industry in Ghana. And it might interest you to know that Ghana was one of the first countries that sort of had an act.
Okay.
Yes. We always have this rivalry with Nigeria, but we actually copied it from Nigeria, the Nigeria Guards Act of 1986.
Right.
That is where the Ghana Private Security Act mostly was taken from. And the visionaries then, I mean, had a good act. UK didn't have an act. UK had this act in 2001.
Okay.
They've advanced so far. South Africa also had it in 2001. Kenya had it in 2016. Unfortunately for us as a country, we've had it for the past 32 years. And we've not worked with it. We've not made any major amendments. The only amendments in 1994, that is LI 1579, is to increase service rates. But the provisions in the Act have not really been enforced and moved ahead. So the industry has become sort of stagnant, and I believe that our regulator, being the Minister of Interior and the police, have not done the industry the needed service for us to move forward, because it's a good industry worldwide. In terms of numbers, last year, as at November, end of November, we're doing a study on it. We had about 87,000 private security employees.
87,000?
Yes, as against 47,000 police people.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very big industry that, if it's regulated well, would play the role that it's supposed to play, that is played worldwide. I mean, worldwide, private security, in terms of numbers, is outstripping the public services because, financial constraints and stuff. So the industry has fared not well. It could be better. 32 years, the visionaries put a good document together at that time, when we didn't have it. But as of now, we have a challenge with it. Some of us have on our own spoken about it in associations, APSOG, that is Association of Private Security Organization of Ghana. We've tried to put things together for our regulator to help us, but we've not had that needed cooperation so that the industry can be pushed forward as it is. They're everywhere. Private security, you might not have noticed it, but we are virtually everywhere in the country. Hospitality, education, mining, whatever, financial, and even one of the most important areas is what we call the critical national infrastructure, like water, electricity, and telecoms and stuff, are all guarded by private security. So we need to have a responsive regulatory mechanism that would make sure these things are put in place. Because maybe the average guard might not know that, look, I'm guarding this water system that is vital to the socioeconomic development of the country. He's not had that training. He doesn't have that understanding. So we believe that our regulator can do more. The industry is not faring that well in terms of regulation.
But you mentioned clearly that when you look at the law governing it, it's beautiful. Yes. The dictates of the law, really, if it's to get to its full potential, we'll see a growth, an astronomical growth when it comes to private security. So what are the specifics in there that we are not seeing being implemented? For which reason the industry is not hitting its fullest potential?
Okay, I would say what is not in there. For example, there's no provision for training. Unlike other countries, they specify training, what you should do and what you should not do. We don't have it. For example, private employees are supposed to be licensed, which has never been licensed in the past 32 years. And in terms of standards and professionalism, we don't have the specifics in there that would make everybody follow those rules so that we can become a very professional institution or industry, because it contributes quite, if the government or the regulator was to put these things in place. As at that time, 32 years ago, when the law was put in place, there was nothing like that worldwide. So we had to make do or learn from our big brothers in Nigeria and copy a few things in there and put it in ours. So they need to look at what can be implemented as it is, then what can be done. Regulation is a specialist field where you need people who understand it. For example, let's say, I'm sure you've heard about this instruction from Interior and the IGP about all security companies wearing the same uniform. Some of us don't think it's a well thought out thing, because, when the companies had their own uniforms, you could straight away identify this is company A or company B or company C. But now you've put all of them together. So in case of crime, you can't really differentiate it is, yes. And
particular company.
Yes, and even when you even look at it, I mean, I'm sure those in charge might not want to agree with you. When you look at it technically by the Act, if you look at it, that instruction is not it's not covered by that Act. The IGP is only supposed to approve. So, for example, the law says that if you want to start a security company, take a sample of your uniform to the IGP for him to look at it, so that if it doesn't bear semblance to the armed forces, the police, and the prison service, and now we even have more institutions, we have immigration, all those things, so that part also has to be looked at. If it doesn't bear any semblance, then he gives approval.
Okay.
So some of us are asking, so where is it in the law that says that you
all
can
should be
prescribe?
Right.
Because I believe there is I'm not a lawyer, but I think there's a difference between approve and prescribe. So that is one of the challenges that industry watchers or players are seeing, that can it be looked at? Those are some of the challenges. I mean, we need a holistic approach. Stakeholders, Interior, police, APSOG, other private people, private security organizations will say, let's say, look, what best can we do? Because when you look at the laws in South Africa, Kenya, and UK, they are beautiful. And they contribute to the economy in terms of cash flow, in terms of funding. If it's done well, they would be doing more than they are doing, and it would also help the government institutions, that is primarily Interior, to have some money into their account so that they can regulate and improve the industry. So I think that we need a holistic look at the Act, and it's actually an ally, and see whether we can. Some of us have advised or not advised, or we are looking at, can an Act be made, not instead of an ally? For example, DVLA has its Acts. The other institutions have those acts. Can something be done for this big industry? And it will interest you to know that apart from the garden industry, which is what the law specifies and regulates, we have another big section which is completely unregulated. That is the corporate security, like the government institutions, the parastatals, maybe like in the universities, for example, they go on. I'm sure you see all their security men and stuff. That particular section of what I call the private security industry is totally unregulated. Totally unregulated? Yes, there's nothing. So it's the institution that sets its own rules. But that is part of the security. When you go into what they call electronic security, you see people doing alarm systems, CCTV, those things. It's also not regulated. So there's a whole group there, event security. There are some private security companies who've had license. And that's one aspect too. One license does everything. Because the license says that you do investigation, you do watching, you do guarding, you do what they call CIT, cash in transit, like those billion people, those do bullion security. So you have one license that covers it. But best practices, you should have separate licenses, and that brings about specialization in the industry, like those who specialize in this, so that we have the rules, the regulations that would help in there. So that's one of the things that we believe they can look at, so that holistically we can.
And even coming back to the issue of uniforms, you mentioned that, well, per the structure of the law, the uniform is supposed to be approved.
Yes, that's what the law says.
And not the other way around, where the Interior Ministry or the IGP is rather prescribing uniform.
The IGP is prescribing.
The IGP is prescribing.
I believe the law doesn't give the IGP the authority. That's what I believe. I might be
because
wrong.
There's recently been warning from the Interior Ministry that private security firms should not be getting into unapproved uniforms and all of that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That is another challenge, because as I said, in terms of even security risk, you understand it. If somebody in a uniform commits a crime, how would you unless you are close, most of us even don't have even good eye vision, unless you are close to see the company's badge, that you can say it's company A or company B. But when they had their own uniforms, it's easy to identify. But now almost we have like 4 sets of uniforms for over the 200 plus. I don't know.
And that is a problem.
That is a security risk for me, for where I sit. It's a security risk. I don't know if I remember those days many years ago when primary schools or schools were supposed to be in the brown uniform all over, and they had people playing funny tricks. And I mean, I can tell you a story back from my secondary school days. I don't know that it's still done, what we call interco.
Interco, yeah.
Yes, where we would come from our schools, and I remember some of our seniors and some of our mates would wear uniforms of other schools. Just one, maybe to chase some girls or to, show that we are from this school, we're not from this school. Or when they go and do quote-unquote bad things, you can identify that, oh, this school is school A or school B. So even if in that space, we don't do that, why would we want to do such a sensitive industry, as private security? Most of the critical national infrastructure is guarded by private security. Almost every place you see them. But if you, for me, speaking from my professional perspective, if you put all of us in a straitjacket uniforms, it doesn't help. I've done a bit of studying. Most countries don't do that worldwide. Best practice, So it's something that they would have to look at it.
Right.
But unfortunately, from my experience, our industry will not talk about it because, quote unquote, we are afraid of victimization. Exactly. Because they are the regulators. You go and challenge them. We have a way of cornering you.
But you believe that we should have a conversation?
That conversation should be had. Okay. There should be that conversation.
Okay.
And they should give us reasons why. I believe that the reasons for putting us was just simplistic, to avoid the detailed work of regulatory, bring and check and all those things. So it's okay, everybody wear this blanket instruction, which I think it's rather counterproductive. It goes against security, You can't, just yourself. For example, you walk through town. Can you really identify the security companies? You can't really, or you just see the same uniform, ash, white, move, this, brown, white, So that is a conversation I believe that the industry and the regulators should sit down and have. Yeah. Okay.
So how about the conversation surrounding whether or not private security officers should wield weapons?
I think with the caliber of the people we have in the industry and our systems now, it's quite dangerous. Other countries, we go to the Francophone countries, they do it. But Anglophone countries don't. I don't know if it's from our traditional British history or colonial day, but, it's a conversation that can be had. For example, if I were a regulator, I would put in a proviso like, okay, fine. Those that work in some sensitive areas can be armed. Okay, but depends on their training, and they should have a certain kind of training.
And that's what you talk about, the lack of training in the regulation.
Like for example, itself. So for example, in South Africa, they're all armed. South Africa has a high crime rate and stuff. So it's like, okay, fine. Anybody in that, maybe cash in transit, bullion, you should have this training, this specific training for these people. Maybe you get people from a certain background, ex-soldiers, ex-police, ex-security. They can be trained, because they've already been trained to handle firearms in the mines and all those things. And that would even reduce the pressure on the Ghana Police Service if all these problems where they're having, you go to the banks almost, we have policemen all over the place. You go to the mines and military and those countries. But if you can have that, proviso in it, a specialist training for, let's say, armed, it's not every place, but certain high-risk industries, it can be, because I believe the average person is quite intelligent to be trained to handle well. But then it all boils down to regulations, the procedures and stuff that have to be done. So it's a conversation that we can decide to look at, whether we should arm them. Now the law says no, we don't arm them, but it is what it is now. But going along in the future, I think we can look at it. Okay. It would help because the private security industry is supposed to augment or help the regular law enforcement, the police services. That's what I said earlier. Look at our numbers. Yeah. The police can't, and they will never. It will never. South Africa, the numbers are huge. In Kenya, it's huge. The public services will never, because actually even cutting down. So no matter the number of people you recruit, it will never be up to the numbers of the private security. So we should rather look at regulating them properly so that they become helpers. Okay. Yes, for our industry.
I would like to continue the conversation, but we'll have to do the curtains here. And I'm sure that in subsequent days we'll have more, especially as we find ourselves in an election year. There's so much to talk about and the role of private security, but grateful for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You heard there, Robert Alexander Budulabi, PSP, Physical Security practitioner, professional, talking to us on private security and how the industry is growing in Ghana. And the fact that we need to also look at regulation, among others. Well, this is still GH Today right here on GHOne Television. We'll be back with more right after this.
Today being Friday, let's bring you a recap of the words we learned this week. On Monday, we brought you potpourri. Then on Tuesday, we brought you preen. On Wednesday, we had beatific. Then on Thursday, we had bon vivant. These are the words that we brought you this week. Thank you. Let's do this again next week.
Thank you so much for staying on with us right here on GH today on GH1 television. My next guest is someone that, you know, growing up, I used to watch television, and I'm sure that in your homes, you were also watching him on television, and you were wondering, hey, this man, Charlie, he has the vibes, he has the words and all of that. Now he's also one of the most famous brand ambassadors we have in this country. He's brand ambassador for Cap Farm. Mikki Osei Berko, Master Richard, as many know him, has joined me in studio. How you doing?
I'm great. And you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to have you this morning.
Yeah. Thanks for having me as well.
Great. And mostly when we see you these days, it's about, and I love the recent adverts, the campaign, and amazing stuff you're doing at Cap Farm. But what is the success story at Cap Farm?
Yes, it's been 10 years old of that story.
Right.
Well, we'll call it success because of the dominance that the brand has on the market at the moment. And it's because of several reasons, you know, that has culminated into what you will refer to as success story. But this is just the beginning, I presume, because there are a lot more out there that we intend to do to make Ghanaians happy and to be confident in the home appliances that they buy for their homes. Yes.
Quite interesting. Talking about home appliances, I mean, one of the brands that everybody's talking about is H-A-I-E-R.
Higher. Yes.
Well, what is happening?
Okay, it's like I told you, Cap Farm has had about 10 years experience in the sales of home appliances.
Right.
And thanks to, I celebrate him every day, our chairman, that's Mr. Charles Boahini, who has led the business from nowhere to where it is now. You know, Cap Farm started barely 10 years ago, and we're almost 16 branches around. 16 branches, and still,
wow.
and
still counting.
And still counting. So that is where we're heading towards. And of course, once you deal in home appliances and you tend to become the best in the sales of home appliances, you want to research and find out the best home appliances that will give the people the confidence in terms of pricing and in terms of quality of the product. And looking around the world, if you look at a brand like Haier, yes, you can check with performance trackers around the world in home appliances sales. Haier has been the leading brand around the world for 15 consecutive years. I mean, what it means is that all the home appliances that are manufactured around the world, the one that is most sold around the world, in the Americas, in the Europes, in the Chinas, and all of that, is Haier.
It's Haier?
Yes, you can find out. It's easy to find out. And it's been for 15 consecutive years. So if we want to bring that satisfaction to Ghanaians and make sure that they have the best prices for the best home appliances, then we have to present them the best in the world, and that is a Haier brand. The quality is super, and the prices are just below what is supposed to be priced for. I mean, if you compare Haier to other brands, you are looking at the high-end brands, but if you look at the prices, they are the low-end side. So that's the difference between Cap Farm and all other home appliances sales outlets.
Now, I was talking earlier about the back-to-back promotions. I mean, the recent one, it's the political campaign. And I'm asking, what is informing all of these?
Well,
because it looks like you drop one, we are loving it, then the next minute another one is just in our faces.
We'll first of all give glory to God. And then, of course, the creativity around the communications department, you know, and though it's headed by myself, it's also attention well paid by the chairman himself, who also loves crazy ideas, you know, in terms of our presentations. So I think that is the togetherness in that department and our zeal to produce communications that are out of the box. You know, that is giving rise to that. Of course, we give glory to God for giving us that level of creativity.
And I must commend you on that. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids watch it and they relate to it and all of that. And it's quite creative, and I'm not surprised.
We're in an electioneering year, so we thought about looking at all the messages from all the political parties to present our brand.
And your brand also presented its message. Yeah. Quite interesting. Yeah. But I mean, you talk about what, 16 branches now?
Yes.
Across the country?
Across the country.
Wow.
Yes, that's what we're doing. And it's going to be bigger because eventually we're looking at having branches all around the country, you know. Yeah. So though we have these 16 branches, we don't have it across all the regions. You know, most of them are situated in Accra.
Right.
We have Kumasi, we have Takoradi, and a few other places, but most of them in Accra. We have branches around East Legon, we have branches down Soma, Dakoman, you know, Amasaman, you know, cut across. So we intend to expand some more, and you know, we can only do that to get closer to the people, because if you look at over the past 4 or 5 years, all awards to home appliance distribution companies had come to CAFAM.
Right.
Our chief executive has won several awards as the chief executive of the year. You know, different awards. So we are on the brighter side, and we intend to continue there. So we need support from all of, and let me mention this. That is the only solely owned Ghanaian home appliance distribution company in Ghana.
CAPFAM?
Yes, CAPFAM.
100% Ghanaian?
100% Ghanaian. So you have to support
Yeah.
That is, and let me emphasize, that is the only solely owned Ghanaian home appliances distribution company
we have currently.
Yes.
Interesting. Now we're talking about, I mean, when you're talking about Haya, you talked about how for 15 consecutive years, it's been an award-winning brand, very consistent in terms of quality, competitive to any of the brands that we know and hear of. But when it comes to this Ghanaian market, one of the key things is competitive pricing.
Yes.
You talk about the fact that higher electrical appliances, really, the cost is it something that we can all afford?
Yes, because...
And what's the assurance that we are going to see the higher brand continuously?
It is. And, you know, we've even established an after-sales service center here where when you call, the service people could come into your home and inspect the product and repair it if it's within warranty. So,
really?
Yes,
so I don't have to come and bring my product to you?
You just call. Service center will delegate some people to come and inspect your product. And once that is done and it ought to be repaired, it can be repaired if you are within the warranty. If not, the service center can still look at it at your own cost. So these are all mechanisms that have been introduced to make sure that you have confidence in buying the brand. And of course, like I told you, it has the quality of the top-end brands. So it means that if, and some of the price difference will shock you.
Really?
Yes. Because if you put the quality together, if you look at the new television, higher television that's out now, you don't find it on the market because they have so many specifications. It has a voice control, you know, it has a deeper coloring, the quantum dot coloring, and all of that. And this sound is so real. One of the amazing things on the higher television that you can't find on any single television in this country or on the market is the sound system.
Right.
Yes. They targeted giving a realistic sound of the TV in terms of even placement of where the speakers are and the quality of speakers, Dolby, and all of that. So these are, you know, even third-party product owners, quality product owners who put in their products in some of the brand, components. So it is key for us to recognize all of these things. You understand? If you buy a television set and it's Dolby sound system inside it, then you know
that the sound is something.
You know what the sound is about, and it has very latest picture technology as well. That's the quantum dot LED that I mentioned, the QLED television set. So these are amazing stuff that Hire has introduced within the brand.
Right.
Are you getting my point? Like if you look at the Hire washing machines, okay, the speed and energy consumption. If you look at these components, the speed of the motor of the washing machine is different from other motors that you find,
right?
Because it consumes lesser energy and all of that. The fridges, the Hire fridge now, you can calculate how much you spend every month if you switch it on, and some of them consume.
Oh, right. So something like this.
Yes.
The fridge.
Yes.
Wow.
And the consumption, a fridge like this from Hire could consume just about 30 Ghana or 35 Ghana a month.
You're kidding?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And you can scan this on the Energy Foundation label on the fridge.
Wow.
Most of the fridges that come in now, and Hire is the first product to comply with the new energy regulation.
Okay.
Hire is the first fridge or first product to have complied.
Right.
So when you scan the code on that label from Energy Foundation, it tells you how much you consume every month and all of that. All of that is in the information.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. Wow.
So we are not just dealing with home appliances. We are also taking care of the economic situation.
Interesting. So it doesn't have much effect on our pockets.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And once you purchase a brand of that quality, you know that it's everlasting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So how can we find Kabfam on social media?
Kabfam Ghana you can find on Facebook.
KABFAM Ghana.
Yes.
On all social media platforms.
Yes. On social media platforms.
So now that Kabfam have stolen you, are we ever going to see you back on our screens?
I'm on the screens. I'm on the screens.
But you're on the screens with Hire and Kabfam adverts. But
yeah.
About we seeing you like we used to know, movies, acting?
I'm working at bringing back Dada Boot.
Okay.
And I'm setting up to also produce a lot of content these days, you know, and where we are at now, we've set up with in terms of facility and equipment and all of that. What we are doing now is to train human resource.
Okay.
So I've led the foundation of a school, the Central Arts and Media Institute. It's a creative arts school where we intend to build a high standard, human resource with regards to crew, actors, and all of that. So that is where I am at now.
Okay.
I mean, trying to train human resource to the standard that I think can deliver something that could give us some international recognition.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in the studio, Mikki Osei Berko. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I have some wonderful guests with me in the studio. We'll be talking about Pax Romana. Yeah, I'm sure for those of you who are hearing this for the first time, you'll get to know exactly what that means. But I have Nicholas W.K. Kodjo, 75th Anniversary Planning Committee Chair. Nicholas?
Yep.
Oh, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Amazing. I also have Dennis Apia Saserku, General Secretary of, is it GHANCYC? GHOne. Amazing. And National Coordinator of IMCS Pax Romana Ghana Federation. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you
very much.
I hope you're doing well.
Very well.
So when we talk about Pax Romana, what exactly is Pax Romana?
So IMCS Pax Romana is International Movement for Catholic Students.
Right.
So it's a students' movement for Catholic students in the tertiary institutions.
Okay.
So whenever any Catholic enters any tertiary institution, the movement for Catholic students there is called IMCS Pax Romana.
Right.
So automatically you become a Pax Romana member once you're a Catholic and you enter any of the tertiary institutions
in the country. Oh, okay. Yes. Amazing. So how long has this been in existence?
So the movement has been in existence for 75 years. And this year we are celebrating our 75th anniversary.
You are older than Ghana.
It's actually started at University of Ghana.
Right.
At St. Thomas Aquinas Society. and then gradually it grew to become IMCS Pax Romana. Let me just mention that it's also an international group.
Okay.
So it's recognized under ECOSOC, it's recognized by the Vatican, and it has its headquarters in Paris, France.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so
we
are affiliated
if you're a member of Pax Romana, you're not just local, you're very international.
Yes. In fact, our immediate past international General Secretary is a Ghanaian.
Right,
yes.
right. All right, so the 75th anniversary, what are we looking at?
Okay, so in celebrating this 75th anniversary, we have one motive. That's to get a resource center for the movement.
Oh, okay.
For 75 years of being in existence, we feel like as a movement or as a church body, we should get a resource center in our name that will help us, or in terms of our organization of programs or meetings and those things, we can have our meetings there as a movement. And it will also save us costs in terms of renting places for our meetings and also national activities. So basically, the brain behind the 75th anniversary celebration is to also get some monies and also get a resource center for ourselves.
So when is this happening?
So the climaxing of the anniversary is starting today,
right.
28th, and then we are climaxing on Sunday. So this evening, we are looking at having a Pax in worship. For 75 years of being in existence, we want to thank God for how far He has brought us. So this evening, we are dedicating our activity just to thank God, just to worship God for how far He has brought us. Tomorrow, Saturday, and this will happen at University of Ghana Chaplaincy.
Today?
Yes, so 6:30 p.m. we are starting our Pax in worship.
Right.
Tomorrow, 9 o'clock a.m., we are having our grand debate or opening ceremony. And we are looking forward to have notable people like Dr. Abrampa of NDPC, that's the Director General of NDPC,
right.
Dr. Francis Poku, the former National Security Coordinator, and a host of Pax alumni around to celebrate this anniversary. In the afternoon, we will be having a peace float. We know this is an election year, and we, as members of Pax Romana, one of our main focus is to propagate peace. So we are having a peace float tomorrow in the afternoon from Atraco to NCS, that's National Catholic Secretariat. And at the end of the peace float, we will be presenting a petition to Catholic Bishop Conference. Right. Now, prior to the climaxing of our anniversary, we had 2 dialogue series. The first one, we look at the reasons why most of the youth are leaving the church. And we are looking at it from the perspective of a Pax member. And also, we also look at the Pax yesterday, Pax today, and Pax tomorrow. So we analyze how Pax Romana used to be, what Pax Romana is now, and what the future holds for us. So we put together a document from those 2 dialogue series, and we'll be presenting a petition to our Bishop Conference,
right,
so that the Catholic youth will grow. And in the evening, we are having our biggest Chorafest. Chorafest is back. Those who know Pax Romana, Chorafest is one of our major activities.
Right.
So tomorrow in the evening at University of Ghana again, we are having our Chorafest, and on Sunday at Accra College of Education, we are climaxing with our Thanksgiving Mass. Amazing.
So who gets to be a part of this celebration?
So far as you are a Catholic, whether you are in the tertiary or not, so far as you find yourself in Accra, join us as we celebrate this anniversary. And so far as you are a Pax alumni, join us as we mark our 75th anniversary. And anybody that is a Catholic, you are invited to join us.
Right. So I'm seeing the theme, 75 years of holistic Catholic education and propagation of peace in Ghana. My role as a Catholic intellectual in the light of the synodality of the church. Wow, interesting. So if you can talk to me briefly about this theme, and then I'm seeing participation fee also.
Yes, so let me touch on the participation fee.
Okay.
The program is for 3 days.
Okay, yeah.
And we are expecting students to come and participate all over the country. Of course, the participation fee, which is 100 cedis for students, cannot cover for all the cost. They are students. We can't charge that much. So the participation fee is to cater for accommodation and basically feeding.
Right.
There are other logistical things that we are looking at, which we have written to some sponsors to help. Some are coming in. Some churches, Catholic churches are also supporting us. With the theme, as he mentioned, there has been dialogue series. We are looking at Pax Romana as a whole in the for 75 years, what we have existed for. And mind you, Pax Romana actually means peace from Rome.
Oh.
So it has been a promotion of peace
right,
for 75 years. What have been our achievements? We have contributed to the peace in Ghana by promoting peace in all our activities through the church and everywhere that we go. And also, the church is in a synodal phase. When we say synodal, the church is in a conversation as to how to improve the church. And the Pope has launched a synodal process where it involves participation, communion, and joining, asking questions about what the problems of the church are, the things that we can transform in the church.
Right.
The theme is also to gather students' knowledge or ideas about the synodal process.
Right.
How can students merge with the synodal process of the church? What are the contributions of students in the church? How can students improve the church?
Right.
So all these ideas will be gathered, sent to the Bishops' Conference. There's also an African Synod, and then there's also a Synod in Rome. Okay. And then these contributions will go there for a new phase of the church, which the Pope would come out with.
Okay. So everybody is invited to be a part of it. And it's starting today, Saturday, and Sunday. So please, make sure that you are also a part of this particular Pax Romana. 75 years, Charlie, is not an easy feat. Benjamin Saki is in the studio. He ran away from becoming a priest. Kodjo also ran away from becoming a priest. But gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Acknowledge.
All right.
So we are also inviting you to be part of us.
Definitely. So I'll let them drag me so I will come.
Sure.